What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Tiffany, and you're watching Queen Tiffany TV. I've compiled a group of videos that I wanted to share with you guys because we're living in a time when people are trying to cover up the truth. And I think, and I firmly believe that we need to stand in truth. We need truth. God is truth. So I hope that you guys can see, and if you don't get anything from this video, I want you to get the fact that we need to research. We don't need to just go off of something that we agree with. We need to challenge the narrative of what's going on. There's too many things going wrong right now for us not to look into what's actually going on. A lot of these things are distractions, and I feel that there is an agenda being pushed, and I feel that it's one where the government is really trying to control our society. Control how you move, how you spend your money, where you work, how long you work. That's what they're trying to do. We've seen that clearly with COVID, so it's been going on. I feel like they've been working toward that this whole time. So, anytime somebody comes against that agenda, they are targeted. People that speak for truth, and people that do not agree with those individuals. As in this case, the president, the Democrats, or whoever else. When you're trying to stand for something that's right, you're trying to stand for the people, and I just feel that we've been misled into believing something that's clearly not true. Just like black people, I always thought the Republican Party was for the rich folks or the white people, but that is simply not the case. And I urge you guys to do your research and get an understanding. But anyways, let's get into this video. But before we do, one more thing. Could you hit the like button? Comment below what you think, and hit that subscribe button, y'all. It's free. All right, let's get into this video.
Word.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you. St. Louis and I are here today in support of genuine community safety and in opposition to hollow, hypocritical attempts to distract from policies that make our communities less safe. That's exactly what this resolution is. It's an empty and desperate ploy by Republicans to avoid responsibility for policies they support that are getting people killed in St. Louis and across this country.
When you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party comes to mind? The Republicans or the Democrats? Most people would probably say the Democrats, but this answer is incorrect.
So let's set the record straight on a few things. First off, the party of insurrection has zero credibility. Zero credibility when it comes to protecting law enforcement officers. It was a Republican president who incited the January 6th insurrection and coup attempt because he refused to accept that he lost the 2020 election. It was Republican politicians who enabled January 6th by peddling lies about the election. And it was a mob who supported these Republicans that stormed the Capitol and violently assaulted law enforcement officers.
Over your voters. It's very clear that you are very influential over them. You have a lot of impact. I've been to many of your rallies and seen it up close, which raised a lot of questions about the influence that we saw that you had on them on January 6th and your supporters when they attacked the Capitol. Do you have any regrets about your actions on January 6th?
Well, January 6th was, again, we go back to it, but January 6th had to do with the fact that hundreds of thousands of people, and you don't see the pictures very often. A lot of the people here probably were there. January 6th, it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. That was prior to the walk down to the Capitol building. I don't think, and I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people. I've never spoken to a crowd as large as this. And that was because they thought the election was rigged.
A day for our country, because you're sworn to uphold our Constitution. Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
And they were there proud. They were there with love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day. And what I was asked to do, I wasn't involved in it very much. I was asked to come in. Would I make a speech? I made a speech. I said, walk peacefully and patriotically.
We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Our exciting adventures and boldest endeavors have not yet begun. My fellow Americans, for our movement, for our children, and for our beloved country. And I say this, despite all that's happened, the best is yet to come. So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol, and we're going to try and give, the Democrats are hopeless. They're never voting for anything. Not even one vote. But we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride, boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here. This is incredible.
Different things. In fact, I brought a list of things. I don't want to bore the audience, but we can go sentence after sentence after sentence of things I said and things I put out. One of the big problems was that Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy as I affectionately call her, Crazy Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington were in charge, as you know, of security. And they did not do their job.
They're not in charge of the National Guard. You're in charge of the National Guard.
Well, I offered them National Guard. I said, we'll give you soldiers, we'll give you National Guard, we'll give you whatever you want. And they turned me down.
And
in fact, she turned me down. She turned me down in writing. They turned me down.
But your acting defense secretary, Chris Miller, at the time, he says you never gave a formal order to deploy the National Guard. But when it came to that day...
Do you think anyone would have marched on the Capitol and tried to overrun the Capitol without the president's remarks? I know you've answered this question several times, but I'd like you to answer it for the committee.
I think I'd like to modify my original assessment.
Why am I not surprised about that?
Based on, as Chief Conte said, we are getting more information by the day, by the minute about what happened. And to highlight some other observations that were made, it's clear now that there were although we're going to find out through the Department of Justice process and the legal system, it seems clear that there was some sort of conspiracy where there were organized assault elements that intended to assault the Capitol that day.
Reclaiming my time, I'm just asking you the same question you've answered before. Did the president's remarks incite members to march on the people in the crowd to march on the Capitol, or did they not?
Well, he clearly offered that they should march on the Capitol. So it goes without saying that his statement resulted in that question.
I'm reclaiming my time. Let me just share with the committee what you have said before. This is your quote. This is your quote. Would anybody have marched on the Capitol and tried to overrun the Capitol without the president's speech? I think it's pretty much definitive that would not have happened.
I think now I would say that was not a unitary factor at all.
What's that?
I would like to offer, I have reassessed, it's not the unitary factor at all. It seems clear there was an organized conspiracy with assault elements in place.
In your written testimony for today, reclaiming my time again, for your written testimony for today, this morning, you stated the following about the president's quote. I personally believe his comments encouraged the protesters that day. That was
a
this
fair
morning.
statement.
So this is a very recent reversal of your testimony.
Absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
You're ridiculous.
Thank you for your thoughts. I also want to highlight.
No, wait a minute. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. You also said, and I quote, the question is, did he know he was enraging the people? That's a different matter.
Excuse me,
that day,
just the opposite.
he
Chris Miller wrote a book, and he's a fantastic guy, and he was ready to go. They turned him down. If you look, the mayor of Washington, D.C., lovely lady, she said, we don't want it. We don't like the look. Nancy Pelosi said, oh, we don't like the look. If they would have had I offered them 10,000 soldiers. I said, it could be 10, it could be more, but I offered them specifically 10,000 soldiers. If they would have taken 500 soldiers, you wouldn't have had the problem. They turned it down. And if you look at the Inspector General report, he says they turned it down. They made a terrible mistake.
Well, Chris Miller was your acting defense secretary. He says you never gave that order. But back to what happened on that day.
He did not say that.
He has testified that, Mr.
He
President.
did not say that.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about that speech that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers.
At what happened, showing a couple of people that were actually helping Capitol Police on that day. Watch this.
How you doing, man? Yeah. Stay safe, all right? Man, you are covered. I thought I was bad. You got it way worse. Hey, do you need water or something, man?
All right, that journalist Hansen joins us now to share his perspective about what he witnessed firsthand on January 6th. Taylor, thanks for taking the time out tonight.
Of course, thanks for having me, Ginger.
Well, first, that video that we just watched, I mean, we're not seeing it a lot of places. It's certainly nowhere on the mainstream media. Walk me through what we just saw.
Yeah, what that video portrayed was me and Ashley Babbitt walking side by side. We were the first ones to actually arrive at the speaker's lobby doors. And as you hear from that clip is, and these people aren't violent. I actually offered this officer water. You know, Ashley was actually joking with these same officers, Officer Yetter and the other two in the same area, minutes prior to her getting shot. So that was the initial approach video. And the actual documentation of the shooting really even tells a much larger story than that, and really seems to disprove what mainstream media and our government have created as the official narrative around Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah, let's take a look at that second video right now so we can discuss that as well. Can we roll that, please? All right, so explain to me what we saw there when Ashley is grabbing that man's backpack.
Yeah, so Ashley was actively trying to disarm these people, trying to calm them down throughout this entire kind of confrontation with these police officers. She continuously got in between the officers and Zachary Alam, who is that agitator you see that she grabs the backpack of. And in this video, as it gets a little bit deeper into it, she actually reaches in with her right hand, pulls Zachary back from the window as he shatters the last window pane, and punches him with her left hand. She was left-handed in a southpaw, and hits him right in the face and causes his glasses to fall. And 7 seconds later, that's actually when Michael Leroy Bird ended up issuing a kill shot with no verbal warning.
Wow, that's
Taylor Hansen is here today, and if someone would mind letting him sit in. Taylor, could you give just a brief bio about yourself? And I invited Taylor here today because Taylor's an eyewitness and videoed Ashley Babbitt's murder. And I invited him here today because I wanted him to be able to talk about it.
First off, thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for having me now that the button works. My name is Taylor Hansen. I'm an independent journalist and field reporter. I was there on January 6th to document what I believed was going to be left-wing violence due to the constant pattern of the MAGA Million March and people being violently attacked by left-wing organizations. So, I showed up to the Capitol. I was at the Ellipse. And the next thing I knew, I overheard a group, this is around, I want to say 12:20, talking about, hey, we're going to form a group, we're going to the Capitol early, we're going to march in a few minutes. So I thought that was kind of suspicious, and naturally I just followed them. And this group actually ended up being the very first group to breach the initial barriers. This group had Ray Epps in it, had Ryan Samsel in it, amongst many other people. And after those first initial barriers were actually breached, there was almost, I would say, about 10 to 15 minutes of people just gathering, in this area. And when you're behind, you couldn't even tell what was going on. You're 100 people behind, you can't tell what's going on right in front of you. So there's just this surge of people continuously pushing in. And I'm at the very front and I can see this. Everybody's being peaceful at this moment. And that's when, as the crowd formed, people are singing the national anthem, people are being patriotic, they're doing their due rights and protesting, doing their First Amendment rights. And
Can
that's
I
when,
pause you for 1 second? Was President Trump still speaking at the Ellipse at this time?
by the time the Capitol was breached, Trump was still speaking, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, you can continue.
And that's when the first concussion grenade flew over my head and deep into the crowd. And I noticed this hit children that were in the crowd, it hit elderly people, it hit women. And at that moment, the tone completely changed. It was a complete 180. And I've covered, all the 2020 riots. I was on the ground consistently. I have still to this day never seen a reaction of law enforcement like they did that day. I would say that they did start it. That's not a common reoccurrence from what I've seen at these riots or these protests. And that first initial grenade went by, and then it was just a barrage of grenades. I lost count. I had to put people out that were on fire. People had holes in their cheeks from rubber munitions that weren't being violent. They were standing back. And that's when the initial crowd was pushed even farther from the crowd surge. A man named Derek Vargo was pushed off the side of the ledge as he was going up the wall. And that caused almost a stampede of sorts. We went up the stairs. I recall going up the stairs with everybody, and there was these double doors that were wide open, and people were just flowing in. There was 3 cops in sight as I arrived to the top of the Capitol. They were directly to the right of me. I entered in the west wing door. They were just standing around. They were drinking water, handing out water bottles to people, to protesters, actually. And, I remember going into the Capitol, walking down the hallway. Everybody's chanting, "Stop the steal," no violence yet. I haven't seen pretty much anything. And
Except violence from
violence from the police.
Capitol
And I had
Police.
seen people fighting back, and you did have the occasional person in the crowd with a gas mask that was unidentifiable. I actually have a video of someone that I recognize from my time reporting in Portland, Oregon, that is affiliated with Antifa.
What is his name?
Press. I don't have her identity,
Okay.
but I recognized her, and I said, "Oh, hey, you're from Portland. I recognize you." And this is all on video, and she nods her head and then kind of brushes me off and hurry and runs. And then she's later seen setting up what seems to be a shot of one of her other friends that was there also committing violence against the police.
And let me ask you another. Okay, just a little further. You covered all the Antifa and BLM riots across the country. Was Antifa in the crowd that day? And
Absolutely.
could you speak to their involvement? Can we just go a little longer for this?
Yeah,
please?
they were unequivocally, without a doubt, in the crowd that day. You have multiple of them that are based in D.C. and Portland that all talked about it on Twitter, about how they were there and nothing is going to happen to them, essentially.
And there's evidence of this.
Yeah, there's evidence of this.
There's
And
video evidence.
Police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on Truth.
If Republicans cared about violence against law enforcement, they would be marking up a resolution condemning themselves. But the fact is that Republicans don't care about violence against law enforcement, and they really don't care about law enforcement at all. They will support any number of abuses that law enforcement inflicts on communities like St. Louis. But as soon as a law enforcement agency takes a single step towards holding them and their cult leader, Donald Trump, responsible for their criminal behavior, that agency becomes public enemy number 1. So Republicans don't care about law enforcement. They support mass incarceration for Black and brown communities and freedom from accountability for themselves. And it is sickening to hear Republican politicians talk about public safety while they contribute to the crisis of violence in this country.
Since its founding in 1829, the Democratic Party has fought against every major civil rights initiative and has a long history of discrimination. The Democratic Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, founded the Ku Klux Klan, imposed segregation, perpetrated lynchings, and fought against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s. In contrast, the Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. Its mission was to stop the spread of slavery into the new Western territories with the aim of abolishing it entirely.
As I have pointed out many times in this committee, the states with the weakest gun laws, like my own in Missouri, have Republican legislatures and governors and the highest rates of gun violence in our country. Republicans also take every opportunity they get to spread fear and distrust in our communities. These moral and policy failures have resulted in firearms flooding municipalities that are unable to override those state-level policies.
This effort, however, was dealt a major blow by the Supreme Court in the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford. The court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property. The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war. The commander-in-chief during that war was the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed the slaves. 6 days after the Confederate Army surrendered, John Wilkes Booth, a Democrat, assassinated President Lincoln. Lincoln's vice president, a Democrat named Andrew Johnson, assumed the presidency. But Johnson adamantly opposed Lincoln's plan to integrate the newly freed slaves into the South's economic and social order. Johnson and the Democratic Party were unified in their opposition to the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, the 14th Amendment, which gave blacks citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave blacks the vote. All 3 passed only because of universal Republican support.
And an American public that is on a hair trigger and primed for violence. So let's get it straight. Republicans are the arsonists, not the firefighters. They don't get to enable violent insurrection and rampant gun violence and police brutality and then show up and pretend like we should just listen to anything they say about policing and public safety.
After Reconstruction ended, when the federal troops went home, Democrats roared back into power in the South. They quickly reestablished white supremacy across the region with measures like black codes, laws that restricted the ability of blacks to own property and run businesses, and they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests used to subvert black citizens' right to vote. And how was all of this enforced? By terror, much of it instigated by the Ku Klux Klan, founded by a Democrat, Nathan Bedford Forrest. As historian Eric Foner, himself a Democrat, notes, in effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. President Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, shared many views with the Klan. He resegregated many federal agencies and even screened the first movie ever played at the White House, the racist film, The Birth of a Nation, originally entitled The Klansman. A few decades later, the only serious congressional opposition to the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 came from Democrats. 80% of Republicans in Congress supported the bill, less than 70% of Democrats did. Democratic senators filibustered the bill for 75 days until Republicans mustered the few extra votes needed to break the logjam. And when all of their efforts to enslave blacks, keep them enslaved, and then keep them from voting had failed, the Democrats came up with a new strategy. If black people are going to vote, they might as well vote for Democrats. As President Lyndon Johnson was purported to have said about the Civil Rights Act, I'll have them voting Democrat for 200 years.
It is a farce, and it's a distraction from policies that would actually save lives. Those policies do not invest in violence, they invest in communities.
So now, the Democratic Party prospers on the votes of the very people it has spent much of its history oppressing. Democrats falsely claim that the Republican Party is the villain, when in reality, it's the failed policies of the Democratic Party that have kept blacks down. Massive government welfare has decimated the black family. Opposition to school choice has kept them trapped in failing schools. Politically correct policing has left black neighborhoods defenseless against violent crime. So when you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party should come to mind?
They recognize that we will never incarcerate ourselves to safety. They will support non-police first responders, mental health and counseling resources, community-based employment programs, community violence prevention and interruption programs, after-school programs, substance use treatment programs, public health and other wraparound services, affordable food and housing, more parks and green spaces, and re-entry programs. That's just to name a few. So that's exactly why I introduced the People's Response Act, which would establish a division of community safety within the Department of Health and Human Services to research and fund evidence-based strategies that are proven to prevent violence and effectively manage crisis situations. So unlike these Fox News talking points, the PRA is a real proposal with real solutions that will save lives in St. Louis and nationwide. And it's not only this proposal. There are proposals that adopt a community-based approach to public safety. Many of my Democratic colleagues have introduced proposals that would break the cycle of violence, invest in mental health resources, support counselors, not criminalization, ensure housing for all, and support other non-carceral interventions that would make a material difference in people's lives. But we're not here today to consider real solutions that will make people's lives better. We're here as a distraction from the sad truth that dangerous MAGA Republican policies make us less safe. They deprive us of basic investments that would move us closer to a genuine community safety. And at the end of the day, Republicans refuse to consider those investments because Republicans are not seeking solutions to the problem.
Gentlelady's time.
They are the problem. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentlelady's time is
Thank you, gentleman from New Jersey. I want to welcome Ms. Bush to the committee. Did she leave already? Oh, is she still here? That's unfortunate. I was going to point out to her a couple of ironies. She came to lecture us. She was here for 5 minutes and 3 seconds. I appreciate her time investment. She came to lecture us about, quote, avoiding responsibility. We've had 4 full committee markups. She has not attended 3 of the 4. I'm not sure today her 5 minutes counts as an attendance, but let's say she's made 2 of them now. I was going to ask her if she's still in favor of defunding the police, because we have her on record more times than I can count of having been the great champion of that. She wanted to talk about responsible investments that will make a difference. I wanted to ask her how that defunding police thing worked out. I think everybody in the country knows that we're facing chaos and a catastrophe of crime, violent crime in all the major cities that she went and protested in, and many more that took the cue. I wanted to ask her about the reality of how that works out in real life. You know, she accuses us of engaging in talking points. We're trying to pass meaningful legislation to solve these problems, and she is advancing policies and ideas that create the mayhem. So, wow, it's so unfortunate that she's not here to engage in a colloquy on that. But I'm not surprised. This is what we get from the radical left. She is part of that radical left that is bringing down the party and having them associated with the crime crisis that we have on the streets. This is the very reason that we need Police Week, to reinforce our support for the brave men and women who are on the front lines, that thin blue line, who put their lives on the line every single day, and we lose them now at alarming rates in the line of duty, trying to protect their communities from wacko, crazy, maddening policies like the ones that Ms. Bush has supported in Congress. I will also point out, as we noted earlier, she was the vice chair of the Crime Subcommittee of Judiciary, and she doesn't believe in funding police. What a tragedy that she's not here to join us. I yield back.
Will the gentleman yield?
Thank you. I will. I need about a minute here. You know what strikes me as, I don't want to use the word humorous. I don't know what else to use. You all were in charge for 2 years. You had the presidency. You had the House. You had the Senate. You controlled it all. You could do pretty much anything that you wanted to do. And all I remember happening, I was out there. I was on the street talking to my people. I remember what happened in Congress was to demean, diminish, defund, despise the police. And now you say a wholly, totally different thing. And then you have somebody else come along, and I don't know her very well, who stays here for 5 minutes after most of us on both sides have been here for hours, at least trying to hash this out. She says some real mean stuff and walks away. And guess what? That real mean stuff's not going to work. That's not the real world. You need law and order. You need police. You need safety. And you know what? I do have some urban areas in my district and rural. And you know what? In my district, when I talk to people, whether they're Vietnamese, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic, I say, what's the number one issue? And they constantly say, like the city of Atlantic City, they want better lighting. They want more safety. They want more police. They want to be safe. They don't want their kids to get hurt. They don't want their stores to get robbed. And you all were against that. And you had control of everything.
Would the gentleman yield?
All right, y'all saw that. And what I've gained from this is that we need to wake up. We got to snap out of it. You know, stop being delusional like this world is trying to make us to be. Okay? I believe Trump. I believe that the election was rigged. I also believe that the people that attacked those police and started all that mess, first off, it was the police. And then, second off, some of those people out there in that crowd was not Trump supporters. Understand that. You know, they knew it was going to be a lot of people over there because Trump felt, and a lot of other people also felt that that election was rigged. And I also believe that too. With the increased mail-in ballots they had, you don't know what was going on. That was a lie, right? And then you're sitting over here, oh yeah, you got to this date to send it in and all that. That's not fair. That's not fair. That was not fair. And who knows what, they just made up numbers. Okay? So that was rigged. Anybody with sense can see that. That wasn't right. Okay, so I don't like how they keep saying that Trump supporters are cults. They're part of a cult because they want to believe in what Trump is standing for, because they also stand for that. And this is a fight for our country. It's a fight. So that's a cult because they want to uphold what's right and what this country has stood for this whole time. That's a cult. But then we got the rainbow people out here. That ain't no cult. And trying to get everybody to join it, get with it. That ain't no cult though. Why y'all ain't saying nothing about that? Nobody wants them folk doing that crazy stuff. Like, do what you want to do behind closed doors. We don't need to know about it. So I don't even understand that. That don't make sense. You run around telling everybody what you do behind closed doors. Who cares? Who cares? You need to get in the right industry for that. That's not public. Okay? If anybody want to know what you're doing, they can go log in somewhere and see you online. Okay? They don't need to be out here in front of these kids. And I personally don't want to see it. But that ain't no cult. Okay. And black people, we got to stop. It ain't racist. It's called hard work. Work hard. Instead of being sorry. I hate to say it, but I see it every day. Folks want it handed to them. You want it to be handed to you. You don't want to work for it. And I hate that for the black people. Yeah, we just Want somebody to give us the money, want us to give us the praise, want people to give us the respect, and we believe we shouldn't have to earn it. We should just get it. That's not life. That's not reality, and it won't ever be. We go through things, y'all. We go through things in life that helps develop character, that helps give us strength. Okay? Y'all are sitting over here acting like you want to be slaves again. Just remind me of when Jesus was like, when God said, go get my people up out of there. Let my people go. And them folks, they got free and they were still reminiscing back on Egypt. That's what y'all doing. That's what black folks do. They reminisce. It was nice when we had the plantation owners taking care of us. We didn't have to, we just do what we had to do. And we got a roof over our head and stuff. I don't know, what is you thinking? Because you want the government to take care of you. The government is not for you. Remember, we live in America. And if you knew that, what did you want? You shouldn't want that. The government wants to control you. The government wants to control me. You sitting over here, got these projects. That's like the plantation to me. That plantation, they go to slaves over there. Then turn around. Oh, you need some help? You a single parent? Okay, where the daddy at? So we can put him on child support. Because we can't assist you unless you tell us who the daddy is, so we can put him on child support and throw him in jail. Because we can't help you any other way. You got to provide us that. So we can get him to give us some money or throw him in jail so we can help you. You got to be a single mom for us to help you. Some people need help, and it's a whole family with mom, dad, and the kids. No, we help single moms, and we put the dads in jail. Then black folk you don't want to work. You want to go out here selling drugs, thieving, tearing up stuff. Do you not know you're the reason why you're going to jail? You're doing high crime and stupid things. Do you not know you are messing up the community in which you live in? Did you not know that? When you go riot and tear up these stores in your community, that means some people in your community that look like you done lost their job because you just tore up the store. That means you will have fewer options of shopping when people start to move their businesses out of your area because you're doing stupid stuff. And then you think somebody will treat you with respect when you're acting like an animal. You need to be thrown in the zoo. And I don't understand. I just can't understand where these folks' mind at. It's delusional. You're doing right. You're falling right in the plan, right in the line. These folks, every time it comes to an election, we had COVID. It threw everything off, right? Now they talking about racism again. I think it's funny when you have Caucasian white folk telling you ain't black if you don't vote for me, or you ain't that black if you ain't saying this white racism out, people being racist out here, white supremacists. Is you crazy? I'm black and I ain't lived through no racism. I have not felt that, but I have felt hate from my own people. I have been bullied and talked about by my own people. I have been thrown in the dirt, kicked on, stomped, rolled around by my own people. That's facts. So I don't know what these folks talking about. Racism, it would be like back in the day. If it was real racism, we would have a hard time in every aspect of life. But today, racism is just like there are murderers, there's thieves, there's liars, there's haters, there's racism. It's evil. That's all there is to it. And evil will be a part of this world until the Lord comes back. So ain't no way you don't get around that. So stop. Stop it. You want something in life, work for it. Stop blaming somebody else and wake up. It's a whole bigger picture. And it ain't looking good. These folks trying to stop the future. They trying to stop the future. Trying to destroy the seed. Then what seed is up, they trying to stop the growth. Have these folks out here confused. God is not the author of confusion. I understand that some people are going through some things mentally. That's a playground for the devil. Did you know that? Did you know that? So we need to get some clarity and some understanding. We need to talk to the Lord. We need to research instead of just jumping to conclusions like I see a lot of other people do. Instead of standing for truth, they have their own biases and whatever. Okay? I stand for truth. I don't care what color you is. I want the truth. And I hope we can get hope you got a little truth out this video. I don't know. Hopefully it was something in here that was eye-opening and compelling. So with that being said, I want to end this video with the scriptures. I have 2 scriptures. First one is Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 and 6. It reads, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." Okay? Okay. And our second reading will be Proverbs chapter 14 verses 12 through 16. "There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Even in laughter the heart may ache, and rejoicing may end in grief. The faithless will be fully repaid for their ways, and the good rewarded for theirs. The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. The wise fear the Lord and shun evil, but a fool is hot-headed and yet feels secure." Are you a fool, or are you going to be prudent out here? Let's go out here with our eyes open, y'all. Get some understanding. Let's talk to the Lord. Get some understanding so we can move accordingly. Okay? Again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to this point, make sure you like, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Till next time, I'm praying for you guys. God bless you, and be safe. All right? Cool.